Welcome to Sailing El Jaleo. I am a mid-40-year-old who in my early 40s became disillusioned with modern society and all of its promises and pitfalls. Feeling that life was getting a little too boring, I decided to do the logical thing, which is to buy a 40-year-old sailboat and spend the next 3 or 4 years converting it into a long-range, off-grid sailing vessel. Or it might have just been a midlife crisis, who knows. From there, I enlisted the help of my trusty crew, and we've been spending the last 3 years going up and down the east coast of the United States, learning how to sail, learning how to read charts, how to navigate, how to read tides, and basically just how to survive on a sailboat. From here, we plan on spending one more summer up north, doing one last round of upgrades before finally escaping the United States in late 2024 or early 2025. These are our adventures. Feel free to come along if you'd like. This week we pick up the adventure in Fernandina Beach, where I fly the drone over to Fort Clinch to take a look around. On the way back to the boat, we fly over the West Rock paper processing plant, and I indulge myself for a few minutes taking a look around and marveling at some of the engineering going on there. If this doesn't get you from 6 to 12, I don't know what will. All right, I guess we might as well go ahead and get right into it. Grab a drink, climb aboard, and let's get going. Fort Clinch is a 19th century masonry coastal fortification built as part of the third system of seacoast defense conceived by the United States. It is located on a peninsula near the northernmost point of Amelia Island in Nassau County, Florida. The fort lies to the northeast of Fernandina Beach at the entrance to Cumberland Sound. After the end of the Second Seminole War, the United States started construction of a fort later named Fort Clinch in 1847. It was part of its third system of coastal defenses conceived earlier in the century, which guided fortifications throughout this period. The fortified component is pentagonal in shape, with both inner and outer walls, and consists of almost 5 million bricks. There are corner bastions and embrasures in the outer walls, and several structures in the interior courtyards, including a 2-story barracks. The fort was named in honor of General Duncan Lamont Clinch after his death in 1849. General Clinch fought in the War of 1812 and was an important figure in the First and Second Seminole Wars. Confederate forces seized the fort in early 1861. It was used as a safe haven for Confederate blockade runners during the first year of the Civil War. However, changes in technology, specifically the development of rifled cannon, had improved weaponry to the point that the fort's brick walls were vulnerable to attacks and thus obsolete. In March 1862, General Robert E. Lee ordered abandonment of the fort in order to use scarce troops in other areas. Afterwards, federal troops reoccupied the fort, taking control of the adjacent Georgia and Florida coasts. They used the fort as a base of Union operations in the area throughout the Civil War. The fort was placed in caretaker status in 1869. It remained so until 1898, when the Army garrisoned it during the short Spanish-American War. In September of that year, the Army abandoned it again. The fort gradually deteriorated. During the Great Depression, workers of the Civilian Conservation Corps began restoring the fort during the 1930s. It was restored to the Civil War era. In 1935, the state of Florida bought 256 acres that included the then-abandoned fort and the surrounding area. Fort Clinch State Park, including the fort, opened to the public in 1938. Okay, and I'm going to indulge myself here for a few seconds. I was parked right across from the West Rock plant, so I decided to go ahead and be a little naughty and take a peek. I believe scientists are born. I do believe I was born a scientist, and I went to school later to become an engineer. I absolutely love this stuff. To me, this is so fascinating. Obviously, they process paper here, or wood pulp, into paper products. And look at these big piles of raw material. These conveyor belts, they're reversed conveyor belts, and they're actually pulling the pulp down into a center. It looks like the center of the pit, where I don't know if it gets redistributed. I don't know if they're just turning it over, or maybe they have to pulp it and then age it for a little bit, maybe to get rid of some moisture or something. But there's a big rake there that's pulling the mound down so it can be conveyed into, I mean, this is fascinating. There's some sort of either a slurry pond or a water treatment pond. Although I think the water treatment is probably in the back there. It looks like there are multiple ponds. That could be part of it. Don't know. Here we've got some cooling towers. You know, this is the evil. Everyone looks at these and thinks evil smokestacks. No, it's just water vapor. Those are cooling towers. So they're getting rid of excess heat there. Don't know what that pond is. Obviously, I don't know what's in any of these tanks. This is just so amazing. This is fascinating. And down here we've got some columns on the lower right or left, right. And the one in the back almost looks like a dryer, the fatter column back there with the piping coming in and out of it. The other 4 or 5, maybe those are distillation columns of some sort, but the one definitely looks like some sort of a dryer. Not 100% sure on any of this. I'm just guessing. But this is amazing. I can't, obviously you can't see through the roofs of buildings, but I believe they make cardboard products here. And I've tried to get every plant that I go by, I call them. I've called this plant here 2 years in a row to ask them if I can take a tour, and obviously the answer is no. I've never made it past the front desk in either of the 2 years. So, but this is just amazing. There is one thing that's coming up here that's really cool. So there are the evil smokestacks, you know, that every industry has. I'm sure they have lots of boilers. Steam is a big part that drives a lot of this stuff. So I'm sure they've got internal power plants, boilers, that kind of stuff. But if you look down here in the lower right, there's 2 rotating drums. And this is really cool. So we're going to go over these drums, and you can see them rotating there. And there's a big flume that comes up and is elevated and is feeding it. You should be able to see here shortly, it's actually dumping whole logs in there. So this just gives you a little bit of the scale of this. So logs are being dumped in there. I don't know if those rotating drums actually chew it up into pulp or if it's just debarking it. I'm not sure. But that is just amazing. Look, they're dumping in logs there. This is wonderful. Oh my goodness. And here we've got some more of the raw product. I mean, this is just wonderful. I don't know. I would love to get into this plant to see, but there you can see that reverse conveyor belt kind of pulling stuff down into the center. I don't know if they're just redistributing it to turn it over. You know, maybe it has to age a little bit before they can process it, get rid of moisture or something. Or maybe there's some mechanism that has to off gas. I don't know. But this is wonderful. And El Jaleo's anchored in the background there. So we were anchored literally right next to this, right in the Amelia River. So this is wonderful. And I'll probably clip this right here, and then I think I did one other flyby to look at those raw product turnover pits or whatever again. So to me, this is fascinating. I think industry is, you know, I probably already said it. I've tried to do this a couple times because I've had some video problems, so I don't know what I've said and what I haven't on this one, but I think industry is vilified a lot of times when it shouldn't be. We all enjoy these products. We all get stuff shipped to us in cardboard boxes. We all buy groceries. The groceries get shipped to the store in cardboard boxes. I mean, the fact that we can take atoms that were created in the heart of a dying star and got deposited on this planet when it was formed, and then Mother Nature did her thing and created life from it and all of that, and then we can take those products and shape them and mold them into things that we can use. I think it's just absolutely fascinating. I mean, it just shows you, I mean, we're completely unique on this planet. Humanity is, and what we can do with our environment. Now, obviously, we've done a lot of horrible things to our environment. I see that every day. when I'm out sailing. I essentially live in nature, and we've done some really bad things, but we've also done some really great things, and we have this ability. We need to control it better, obviously, but the fact that we can do stuff like this is astonishing. Everyone says, oh, dolphins are so smart. I see dolphins every day. They don't shape their environment. They live in their environment. They exist in their environment. They don't have underwater kingdoms that I'm aware of. You know, they don't do the things that we can do. And I actually think there are some primates now that are starting to use tools, and I don't know if they're actually entering like a point of evolution where this is natural, or if they're just mimicking us. Who knows? And that's got nothing to do with anything, but all of this stuff is so fascinating. The world we live in is fascinating. What humans can do is obviously fascinating and horrific. It's just all interesting. And that's all we have time for this week. I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreon crew. Without your guys' support, I wouldn't make these videos. And my Patreon crew is Joan and Juddy Judnick, Val and Chris Alcorn, Denise and Eli Sackett, Sherry Erickson, Deb Shaw, Matthew Spotton, Peter Allen, and Natalie Linehan. Thank you guys so very much. Your support really means the world to me. I do have one legacy patron member, and her name is Joan Linbo. Unfortunately, she has passed on, but she lives on in our hearts forever. We really miss you, Joan. If you are interested in joining our Patreon crew, there is a link in the description down below, and that'll take you to our Patreon page where you can sign up. And there are hundreds, literally hundreds of extra videos and photos of our travels, and I try and keep everything there up to date and post at least once or twice a week, so it gives you a little peek behind the curtain. If you do like our videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. That'll help us out more than you'll ever know, and that actually doesn't cost you anything, so hit that like button. Alrighty, I hope you all are well, and we'll see you next week.